We're pleased to announce that this episode of the 1878 FM podcast is sponsored by Green King Sport, where football is more than a game. Green King Sport venues are showing every single televised Everton fixture over the 23-24 season. And with more than 900 sports pubs across the UK, it doesn't matter where you're based, you can catch every single minute of the action. If you download the Green King Sports app, you won't just get 10% off all drinks anytime there's a match on TV, but this month there's also thousands of pints of free Guinness to be won and the chance to win one of 6 holidays. Hello, welcome to the 1878 FM podcast. It is episode 26 and we have David Fitty back in the house. Dave, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Sorry for my absence for the last couple of weeks. Just life's been busy, but nice to be back. And if I'd known Baz, then obviously I wouldn't have worn the same top as you. Well, very similar top as you.
It's mate. This is what we're good. It's our wardrobe has put us just going the blackness, the darkness.
Sounds of blackness.
You know? Exactly. Well, it's been a black time as an Everton supporter since December the 16th in the Premier League. We've not won a game of football in the Premier League for what, 3?
To be fair though, this happens every year, doesn't it?
Normally November when we are absolutely terrible.
A little bit
we've just gone, tell you what, let's not bother winning in January and we'll see how we go in February, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Let's get the depressing stuff out the way. Everton. But you know what, Dave? To be fair, on Saturday, wasn't expecting much. And when they can bring a substitute on who's worth more than our entire starting 11, that kind of tells you where the two teams are at. But I thought Everton did all right, although I did see some pleb on Twitter saying it was the worst Everton team, the worst team he's ever seen at the Etihad. No intention of trying to win the game. Where I
watched Man City at the Etihad.
I was going to say, I did nearly go back and go, mate, not being funny, but I've seen some of the worst.
Man City at the Etihad.
He won't have done, mate. He's probably been a fan for 3 years. He'll probably go back to being a Chelsea fan when he stopped winning. But Everton did all right Saturday, up to a point, I thought.
I'd go further than that, and I'd go as far as to say that I don't think that they could have done much more. I think that they did everything that they could possibly do, really. I thought that the tactics were right. I had a City mate of mine text me halfway through and said, park the bus, which I thought was a little unfair. But yeah, it was a defensively minded setup, but they did give it a go on occasion, and we actually caused some problems at certain points. And yeah, I mean, with the exception of the, two chances, 2 goals, and Haaland is just a different class. Obviously the ball came loose in the box and he just lashed at it and Jordan couldn't get anywhere near it. And then he was just too strong for Branthwaite, who'd had a really good game, I think. So I wasn't in any way despondent at the end of that, really. Yes, we desperately need the points. But in terms of what that fixture was and where it was and who it was against, and, I don't think they could have done much more. And so I wasn't disappointed in the performance, and you have to scratch it and you have to move on. And, we look at Palace for some points.
I mean, Ped, we saw yesterday what those top teams can do to other teams. I mean, West Ham was 7th going into yesterday, and Arsenal hit them 6-0 at home. And yet we went to the Etihad, and like Dave just said, 71 minutes they hadn't had a shot on target because Everton had defended quite well.
Yeah, I think without going overboard about the performance, because I thought defensively that's where we're strongest. Obviously, that's that 4, or certainly 3 of that 4 added on into a right back have been obviously the backbone of everything we've done this season, plus the goalkeeper. So we know we're going to be all right at the back. We can defend really well. We've got to touch like silk and steel, haven't we, in centre backs, but we've got nothing going forward. But I think bigger picture it just shows you, as you just mentioned there, the gulf and the absolute gulf between Manchester City and anyone outside the top 3, really. And it's that's the most unnerving thing I think about the Premier League is, again, without going into the charges and everything. I mean, when people talk about overspending and stuff, and you're right, Jack Grealish cost more than our entire team on Saturday when you look at their bench. It's frightening. It's absolutely frightening. It just
lovely treat by the Premier League.
No, I mean, it's stuff like that really does get under people's skin, and you can see why. But it tells you where football is right now, and unless there's some kind of big change on the horizon, then it's only going to get worse and worse, and they're going to run away from everybody, and that thing that kept the Premier League competitive is going to just simply disappear. And yeah, you can listen if people want to come out and say it's the worst team, whatever. We'll have a different way of playing than maybe Burnley did, but Burnley's still going to get beat. They might go down in a different fashion, or City might get bored after an hour because they've already got 3-0 up. City aren't one of those teams to push an advantage. They tend to, because they are in so many competitions, they tend to take the foot off the pedal. And that sometimes comes back in the first half of the season and bites them on the arse, by the way. But we did as well as we could have. And once they got the goal, that was the end of it. And once they got the goal, we had to push up a little bit. And we've lost the ball. I mean, that was the only disappointing thing about Saturday, is how poor we were in possession in the top half of the pitch. I thought Dominic Calvert-Lewin had one of his worst games in possession. I thought it was really poor, the amount of times he gave the ball away. But the second goal shows you, when you try and be a little bit ambitious and get high up the pitch, you leave Haaland one-on-one. And, you know, as Dave said there, Branthwaite had a great game, I thought. And then one mistake, because it is a mistake, really. He should be covering the space rather than going straight to the player. You engage with Haaland that high up the pitch, you better win the ball, because if you don't, that's what he'll do.
He's a big R unit.
But he is, and I think what's happened is Branthwaite's basically kicked his foot and gone over. And you've got to just cut off the space and force him somewhere he doesn't want to be.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, like I said, 71 minutes in, you know, they were applying the pressure, of course they were, but it was 0-0. They hadn't had anything on target, so you're looking and going, and then there's a contentious corner. I'll be honest, I've looked at it a few times. I can't decide if it does it, Calvert-Lewin, or it doesn't, but the problem is 99 times out of 100, officials point to a goal kick. They just give a goal kick because it isn't a clear deflection off Dom. And the corner comes in, and it's a pity because we defended the corners really well. And yet it comes in and we don't defend this one. And it's still a little bit lucky. But I was a bit disappointed. Branthwaite just throws a foot at it and kicks it at Seamus Coleman almost. And Haaland swings a right foot at it, like you say, Dave, and it's in the net. But the things you're talking about, David, Everton being poor in the final third, that's been a common theme for months. When we break into, like Spurs last week, we won the ball back against Tottenham more times in the final third than any team has for 4 seasons in the Premier League. I think it was 18 times we got the ball back, or 20 times, and yet we done nothing with it. We scored 2 goals off set pieces against Spurs. We are good at getting the ball back. It's our final ball, terrible. We had 2 on Saturday. Early on, we had a great switch by Tarkowski to Michalenko. He does well and rolls it back to McNeil, and McNeil just throws like, I don't want it, and just puts it in when Dom's trying to make a run in. If he'd just been a little bit more careful with his pass, we might have got him in. And then we had another one not long after it. Jack Harrison burst through, and Dom's trying to get in, but Harrison just whacks it without even looking, throws it across. And okay, you might say, well, Dominic should have been on his bike, but that's not something we do all the time. So he's thinking, is he going to check back, whatever? And it is those moments where you look at City, and I know they are worlds apart, but everything they do, Dave, is so methodical, isn't it, in the final third? It's patterns of play all the time. And I think Everton need to work on that. Someone said to me on Saturday, oh no, I don't mind us just throwing hopeful crosses in. I do. I want it to be a little bit more, a little bit clearer than that. And even with poorer players, you can work on patterns of play. But City, Dave, with the talent they've got, do that so well, don't they? That you can tell it's drilled into them.
Well, they're arguably the best club side in the world.
Well, they are, factually.
It's as simple as that, you know, and you can see it week in, week out. And there was a certain sense of inevitability on Saturday, in so much as, yes, we've done well, and yes, we had, you know, restricted them to having no shots on goal. But you just always feel that it will come at some point, because when you are that good as a side, and you have that talent in your squad, that at some point it's going to unlock, you know, or a mistake will happen. And you know, that's what they do. You know, I mean, I didn't think that Haaland had a particularly good game.
No, not at all.
by his standards. Obviously, he's been out for a while, but he comes back, and as you say, I mean, I think. Well, we both of those chances, really. I mean, neither one of them were particularly pretty, but he showed what he's all about in terms of he's just ruthless and he's just so strong. And for a big old unit, as you say, to have, two good feet, and he can score with his head as well. And, as I say, that one in the box that came loose, it's a half chance.
Yeah.
But he just absolutely, and it was at Pickford. And had it not had that same power on it, then, Pickford, he's capable of stopping those, but there's too much on it. And again, likewise, it wasn't a particularly cultured attack that got him one-on-one with Branthwaite, but he was there and he knew what to do, and his strength, prevailed. And, that's what they have. And, but I don't think that there's any shame in losing to City. I really don't. And I'm not trying to make too light of what is a pretty dire situation for us at the moment. But there isn't any shame, and we weren't expecting to win there, and we didn't win there. And actually, performance-wise, it was okay, it was decent, and we have to look at the games ahead and what possible points are there for the taking.
I mean, Pat, it was the first time since August 22 that they hadn't had a shot on target in the first half, and also, the 58th game on the run they scored at the Etihad. So at some stage, one of them was going to go. But isn't that just the difference, Haaland? That he cost a lot of money, he's paid a lot of money. He's the difference maker. And Everton, if we'd have been in those two situations, certainly the second one, I'm not convinced our centre forward, whoever we had on the pitch, would have knocked theirs on and ran through calmly and slotted. But the top quality players, aren't they?
There's no point comparing.
No,
there's no point comparing like any of our players to any of their players.
Yeah.
It's. I do see, social media brings a lot out of people, but I noticed it on Saturday when I was doing my reaction afterwards live and some of the comments, and it's just like I'm baffled by where people think Everton are or what Everton should be doing. The reality is that's a club that has got everything. Like, that is fantasy football with the best manager, with the best players, with the best setup. They've got everything right.
Best lawyers, best accountants.
Well, I was going to say, and they've got 114 charges to prove, hanging over them.
15.
And it doesn't seem to worry them.
No.
They're just getting on with it, because at the end of the day, why worry about it? You just keep on winning things. No one will take them off you. They might take things in the future off you, but they won't take them off you. And that's the landscape of football. People always talk about, like, 12, 15 years ago, we used to go there regularly. But look at some of the players we had back then. The likes of Arteta and the likes of Kale and the likes of
Fellaini,
Baines, Jagielka with Distan or Lescott playing at the back. Our team was a very good team. The Yak playing up front. We had some absolute top players. For the simple fact is, this team is. I don't know how many times we have to say it. This team is so average. It's unbelievable. It's got nothing in the final third. It's got Workman in midfield. Onana, when he came on, you saw a little bit of a difference. The way he just gets. I was watching someone put a little compilation of him up, and it's dead easy to just go, he just gets the ball and pass it. But it's when he gets the ball and passes it. Watch how other people take the ball off him. It's like chalk and cheese. He gets the ball and straight away it's out of his feet, and he's moving it around the pitch. He gives it to people and they're stuck. They don't know what to do with it. And that's the difference. That's what makes him quality, and that's why someone will come and take him. And the performance by Branthwaite will show why someone will come and take him, and it's a learning curve for him. But our players are so average, and you're right. They do need some. They need someone to work with them in the final third. But I don't think Sean Dyche is that person, because he just doesn't do that kind of thing.
But Bowen and Stone were wingers, so you'd expect.
No, I know, but they're coaches, and they coach to do. Will all be about shape, and all be about defence, and all about staying in the game. And sadly, that's where we are. And until we get to that next level in terms of actual league position, forget about points position, actual league position. Because that's all that matters at this moment. Not that we've got 20, we've earned 29 points. It's that we've only got 19 points and we're in the bottom three. So it is going to take. Obviously, we all know it's going to take time. We shouldn't be measuring ourselves.
What a goal by Beto, by the way. Just a pity he was off, but it was a hell of a finish, wasn't it?
He took it well, didn't he?
Can you do that every week, mate? Just get it and shoot.
Absolutely.
See if it goes in.
It's just a pity, as you said. It's a pity he was playing
He was deciding
non-offsides.
Yeah, he was going, lads, you're 2-0 up and you've won, so we'll just play no offsides. Because the 2 times he got in, he was off. But listen, it is what it is.
Properly off as well.
Oh, yeah, he was. I mean, it was the goal. Was a great
There was
finish.
no lines needed, was there?
No. Even VAR with their curved lines where they haven't got a clue. You know, when they put the pen on, they go, oh, no, that tip's too thick. You know, they need the small... Yeah, even that, we was miles off, but it was a good finish. Yeah, listen, we got what we expected. 2-0 at the end of it, and this sounds massively defeatist, and I apologise, but you go, all right, in the grand scheme of things, we didn't take a hammering, and we have to put it, like you said, put a line under it.
Well, let's be honest, most of the other results went with us to make it almost like a...
Well, who'd have thought that Sheffield would beat Luton at home?
Well, I watched that game, and... I watched that game and Sheffield United battered them.
Tom Davis and Mason Holgate. They know.
Mason Holgate was...
They know.
Dare I say, had a very, very good game. Tom Davis done well when he come on, and we had Andros, Sandra, Barkley. It was the Everton derby. But Sheffield United were brilliant and thoroughly deserved the victory. So I don't see them winning 3 more games, but they've done a great result at the weekend. But for us, like we say, draw a line, move on, and we've got a big game next Monday now, obviously, against Crystal Palace, which is huge, and we'll see where we go with that. But the only bad result was Brentford, and they were battered at Wolves. But
you can't have all of them, though, can you?
Maupay was incredible, and they had Tony.
Well, I mean, he's a class player, isn't he?
Oh, the number 10 we need that we haven't got.
There's an Everton 11 out there.
There is. If you
There's an Everton 11 out there.
They can win games.
They can win games. Just none of them play for us.
No, and when they did, they weren't amazing for us.
No, but Brentford have got Ivan Tony back. He's going to score goals. They're going to get away a little bit away from trouble. Forest got beat. Said it loads of times. It's not nice, but they've got that points deduction hanging over their head like we have, and that, you know, whether we agree with it or we don't agree with it, you know, that's there, and they for me, they're one where you look at them and you think, just keep losing games.
They've got I think they've got West Ham at home this weekend.
No, well,
which is it's a big game for both of them, isn't it? Well, no, for David Moyes, today, you know, they're talking he might be getting the chop, which is crazy, because I'm not sure what West Ham wants.
Well, they don't want to get beat 6-0 at home by Arsenal.
But they've won a trophy, been in Europe for 3 years. Go and have a look at the previous years.
No, I
They're a team
I
that
agree,
was
but
looking like they were getting relegated.
I'm not one for telling other fans of other clubs.
No, listen.
What should make them happy.
You do whatever you do, but I wouldn't put it past Moyes going to West Ham, going to Forest and winning at the weekend, because that we saw evidence of that at Everton. When you had a terrible result, he'd always follow it up with a decent one. But Dave, it could be, if you believe stories bouncing around the media, this could be a big week for Everton anyway, because apparently by the end of this week we will know, if not before, we will know the situation of the appeal. I mean, I know we've been all over the place, haven't we, thinking gut feelings and all that, but there seems to be a little bit of noise in and around it that Everton are going to get some points back. I wouldn't guarantee it, but that's what it feels. And Everton's former CEO, Keith Wyness, is quite bullish again over the weekend that Everton are getting all of them back, because realistically they haven't breached.
Which is ironic, because he actually looks like the bull from Bullseye.
I'm saying nothing, because I got a request in for him to be a guest.
No, but I'm not saying that in a bad way. No. He looks like if the Bullseye Bull was a human being.
Fair play, quite bullish. But I mean, is your feeling we may get something back, or do you think you're sticking with the 10 and then anything from there is a positive?
Yeah, I don't. My opinion hasn't changed from where we were. I mean, granted, I haven't been party to any insider gossip. Nope. So perhaps that might have changed my view today as we look at this. But no, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the 10 points have gone. We are where we are. I mean, if we get some back, then fantastic. You know, it will make a big difference. But then what's the situation regarding a possible second charge?
I don't believe Everton will be done with points again for the second one, personally. I think.
What would they do then? What would you
It wouldn't surprise me if it was either suspended. So if you fail it again, you've lost another 6, 8, whatever. It could be a transfer ban, which wouldn't be good, obviously, for us. Could be a fine. Could be a squad reduction, which other clubs have had in the past.
Haven't we already had one of them?
We've already got one of them.
Yeah.
But I would hope that if Everton did get a second points deduction, that they would kick up and a proper almighty fuss this time, because I don't see how you can take breaches that have been in 2 separate seasons and go, we're hammering it all in the one season for this, because that is ridiculously unfair. But when you actually look at the stuff that the reason why Everton have breached, it's still I get why a lot of people are saying, and have said to me over the last 72 hours, listen, I'm not even happy with 6 points back. We want them all back, because it's a breach that Everton haven't done without the stadium. So it's not a sporting advantage. So they all need to come back, because we haven't done anything wrong. If you want to play it to the letter of the law, we did go over. It's how much you go over by. But
do we think though that, for example, in this current set of charges which are overhanging us, of which us and Forest are in the same boat, if you like, that Forest may get a points deduction and we would, because that's the only thing that concerns me, is I agree with you, if having been done once already this season, if it was just us up against the powers that be for a possible second charge, I think it would be harsh to take. But my concern is that they have to be seen to be playing fair, which means that if we've had a points deduction, then perhaps Forest need to have a points deduction as well. Not that I want them to have a points deduction. Let's make that clear, as we said before, you know. And therefore, I'm a little worried about how it's dealt with when you have 2 cases which are presumably both going through the same sort of system at the same time. Is that, you know, that they might come back and say, right, well, Everton, you've got a financial fine, and Forest, you've been docked 6, 8, 10 points. I don't know.
The slight difference, I don't know whether Ped agrees with this, or he might not, but the slight difference I would say there, Dave, is Everton will have already been docked points, so therefore almost like first offence, you're docked points, so it'd be Forest first, so there's like the equal thing. And secondly, I think the argument that Everton would have, even though it isn't an actual like court, would be double jeopardy. So Everton, I imagine, would say, well, hang on, we were docked points, and now you're docking us points again. We've already been docked points for 2/3 of the period, and you're docking us points again for 2/3 of the period. So you're giving us the same punishments, right? I think that would be kind of Everton's argument.
Okay, here's another one then. Here's another scenario.
You can answer this when he said it. Go on, Dave.
What if they get the points or some of the points back this week, and then Forest are then docked points, and do you know what I mean? It would therefore make our original points docking seem...
Well, if Everton, imagine, and Ped, you're going to answer this, but if this is the scenario, imagine Everton get 4 points back. Let's just use that as a marker, right? Although John Blaine had the mechanism, and I want to use this, that to me makes way more sense, which is do away with the 6 points thing, because that's nonsense. It doesn't mean anything to anyone. But a point per £5 million you're over, right? And that I don't agree with points at any stage, by the way. I don't want Forest to lose, because I think it's nonsense. Once you start messing with points, you're messing with the actual fabric of football. But if there was ever to be a points mechanism, 1 point for every 5 million you were over makes sense to me, right? But say Everton got 4 points back, so they went, right, you breached at 6 points. So then Forest, theoretically, then should be given 6 points because they've breached. So then Everton and Forest would have had the same punishment. But I don't know.
The problem with that is that then it doesn't really matter what you breach by if it is just going to be 6 points.
That's why the 1.
So I would, I would just go 1 point, and it is for every 5. But there has to be a mechanism in place. This idea that it's an open thing is just it's just nonsense. Because like Dave's saying there, how can you look at the situation and go, well, Everton got this, and then Forest might walk in and get something completely different? It opens so many possibilities of, well, who's doing this? Why have they done it? How have they got to that? We still don't know how they got to our 10 points, and they're not going to let us know. That, to me, is the biggest issue with this whole thing. Never mind if Everton went over or whatever else. how did you get to those 10 points? And how would Forest points, if it wasn't 10, how did you get from then? And how did you factor in? Are you ever going to tell us that? And that's I find that a massive issue in this, because it's so open. It's so open to manipulation. And therefore, if people feel like it's manipulated, then you bring into the whole thing, Premier League and everything, into disrepute. And we already know, well, there seems to be, Richard Masters seems to be under pressure already.
Legs, yeah.
So I just can't square all this stuff together.
One of the two things one of the things that has been said now, and Keith Weiner said this as well, is that the only real way for the Premier League to save face now is for the Commission to remove Everton's point deduction and say, right, it's suspended or whatever, to protect the integrity of the game. Then the Premier League can sort of go, well, we just recommended that, and it went to the Commission, and they've said they don't want to mess with the fabric of it. It's whatever. That saves the Premier League, because it saves Forest from being done as well. It saves multiple asterisks in a Premier League. That's one thing. But just some facts very quickly about Everton's case. The breach came from interest payments on the new stadium, wasn't on transfers or players. That's out there, even though some lies a narrative being spun by the Premier League was that Everton have overspent, but more and more facts are coming out. Everton, they're bottom in net spend. Blood. There's a ton out there which prove it. That simply isn't the case. Secondly, the Premier League were absolutely fine with Everton having the interest payments against the stadium, and agreed it wouldn't go against Everton's PSR, so it didn't need to be included. But they changed their mind in December. They accepted something in December 22, and then changed their mind with an emergency meeting in March 23. So bear in mind, the end of that 22 season, Leeds and Burnley or someone like that were moaning because it was to do with Everton's COVID claims, really. Everton claimed more. So they weren't happy with that. And the Premier League told them to go away. Everything was fine. It wasn't. Everton haven't breached. It was fine. That's out there for everyone to read and see. Then the Premier League decided to change their mind. So it's like if you agree to build a stadium and they say, yeah, you can do it that way, and the stadium will take 4 years. In my mind, they should honour that for the 4 years before they start going. And they didn't. They changed their mind. And finally, a breach of that nature, which is an interest payment on a stadium, the Commission did say no sporting advantage was done deliberately or cynically by Everton in this. Now, yet they did say you could argue a sporting advantage was gained.
I've definitely not seen a sporting advantage in the last 3 years.
Well, even with the squad, look at the squad. 3 years ago, we had Carlo Ancelotti managing us and James Rodriguez in the squad, and players like Alan and Richarlison and all of this, Luca Dean. You can go through. Moise Keane was part of it. You look at the squad now, there's nobody there. We've cut. So they're just some facts that are out there, and I think maybe, you can argue with that, but it's just one of the things that I points to me is just, I think, is a nonsense. I think there's other ways to protect
what you say explains why the board was so adamant all the way through that that they would steadfastly defend their financial situation, and they kind of said that we haven't actually breached the regulations. And in terms of what you're saying there, in that was based upon the original calculation, i.e. that the loans to do with the stadium costs wouldn't be included, and therefore they would have been under that barrier. But also, with all of this as well, is that with us and with Forest, is that surely, you're now, it's not even like they're trying to suddenly make up a new system of rules by which everybody will be governed, everybody will understand it, and everybody will know where they are. Because, as we said before, is that once this season is concluded, then these rulings wouldn't have actually caught us or Forest anyway, would they?
No, doesn't seem. But I mean,
so they're now almost, and as you say, Ped, the question of how did you come up with the 10 points, which just seems to be a random, all in favour. Yeah, 10. That sounds about right. Whatever, bollocks. And then, we're in a situation where they've now suddenly got to try and justify some framework of how these points do or don't get awarded or reduced or whatever, which is only going to see us until May anyway, which is just a nonsense.
It's just, I think it just needs to be put to bed, doesn't it? Rather than escalating the situation, because you're right, like you're saying before, Forest get done, and then people will be going, well, what's Everton's second charge? And you're not playing the game on the pitch. You're playing it, in the, not quite in the courts, but if they go to appeal, then it's going to be after the last game. And I know that fans of other clubs are going, well, it's got nothing to do with us. But again, it's that thing of, I watched it over the weekend, seeing German football, and there's lots of protests from all the fans over there because of something they want to bring in. And it's like, again, it's in Germany, they seem to have this thing of like, what's bad for the game is bad for everybody. But in this country, we just seem to point at other football clubs and laugh at them. Yeah. And they've created that scenario again. I know tribalism is great, but it shouldn't be there for when it's affecting our whole game. And we've let so much get. We've let these people get away with so much, I think, and they've taken away the game. And we saw that last week again with somewhat the introduction of a blue card and stuff like that. It's like all of a sudden in the last few years, they just wanted to dramatically change the game. Now, that really didn't seem like there was that much wrong with it. No. It seemed to be,
along quite.
I was thinking about, it, when it was transfer deadline day, and we were talking about like selling players, and in a lot of people's heads, it's this idea that if you sell someone for £10 million and buy someone for £10 million, then it's all equal. You've balanced your books, but even that doesn't work out anymore. I've seen loads of people saying like, why did we sell Tom Cannon and bring in Chimiti? He went, it's like he cost 12 to bring in. It's like, no, that's not how it works. Or why didn't we go for the lad we went to from Coventry? And
should work like that.
No, it should, but
really.
It doesn't, and that's the problem. All these things now in football are so hard to figure out, and as a normal fan, you can't get your head around them all, and it's like, remember when it used to just be about what happened on the pitch?
Well, look at the net spend for like the 22-23 year, just 1 year. Everton made £25 million. Yeah. Chelsea lost £540 million, and yet Chelsea haven't breached £540 million. Everton third. The Brighton made 82 because they sold Caicedo for £1 billion. Leicester 32 because they sold Maddison. And Everton, third bottom at 20. That's just in one season. That's trending in the right way again. So Everton, that's further evidence to go. We aren't looking. We are cutting and cutting and cutting. And once you cut and cut and cut so much,
there'll be nothing left.
There's nothing left, which is why it's not difficult to. People have asked me how come Everton all of a sudden are in relegation, but dead easy because we've sold everyone. That's why.
I think in a lot of people's heads, there's still this idea of Everton's 2017 team is still out there.
That was what we said.
That's like we have got like the ghost of the 2017 literally hanging over our club as a spectre. But there is this idea that they're still playing the game.
Listen to some of these, like Nottingham Forest, net spend 190 million. Like that's in this 1 year. Yeah. West Ham United, there's other clubs. Obviously Chelsea United at the top. Then Forest the third most. Newcastle fourth most. West Ham 165 million. Southampton 147 million.
But again, no, right? If you're a Forest fan, you're sitting there and you're going, we had to spend that money to make ourselves.
But the mechanism doesn't allow it.
But that's what I'm saying. You're a Forest fan and you're sitting there going, we had to spend that money to make ourselves a Premier League team.
To be able to survive.
We were a Championship team. And we wanted to be a Premier League team. And we stayed up. They stayed up by, 5 points, maybe less. And they'll say, that's what we needed to do.
To be competitive.
But the Premier League don't want that.
No, but that's
clearly, because the rules don't work.
That's why it's so daft. The whole thing is so daft. And you turn around and go, well, yeah, we don't sell as many shirts as Manchester United do. Is that our fault?
Or Man City,
is that our fault as a Forest, as a Everton, as a whoever else? Is that our fault? Is it our fault that we don't have 90,000 fans to bring in? Is it our fault that people don't want to come and wine and dine in our stadium? And actually, you want to come to our stadium, but just watch football as a normal fan. And they don't want the experience of a meal and a suit and all the rest. They want to go as a normal fan. Is that our fault? Is that our fault?
The Premier League will say it is.
Where I just find the whole thing, and I know we've said this a million times, I just find this thing ridiculous. Because we don't sell shirts in Japan and China and America and wherever else. That's just football. That is just because our fan base is localised to our city and around the UK.
We don't have lead tie anymore.
Well, you're absolutely right. Maybe if we did, then we'd be in trouble for other things.
We'd be in different stuff, different
troubles,
problems,
different things. So
but there you go.
But but it does beg the question of what's the whole point of the PSR rulings, right? Whereby, I mean, what is it intended to achieve? Where you can have the gulf that we have, as we've already discussed at the beginning of this, between the likes of Man City and everybody outside of the top 3 and 4. And to further rub salt into the wounds is that not only have they allowed that gulf to happen, but now those who are the greatest culprits, if you like, if that's the right word, in potential PSR breaches are those that aren't being done.
Yeah.
And I'll so obviously, to Master's point of the little clubs like Everton and Forest who are getting done, yet the big clubs, the favourites, Teacher's Pet and what all, are not getting done at all. And then you just think, well, what exactly is the point of trying to punish the likes of us and Forest and whoever else? And there will be others, by the way.
Of course,
there will be others within there, in that kind of world of football. You just think, I'm not entirely sure what's trying to be achieved, because ultimately, if you're trying to make a league which is more evenly matched and more competitive, then you should be going after those at the top as opposed to those at the bottom, which is kind of where they're starting this whole process. It's almost like they're starting at the bottom and moving up. And it's like, no, start at the top and move down.
Yeah.
I mean, just going back to what we were talking about just before, saying about like Brentford and Ivan Toney. Brentford have got Ivan Toney. He's the one thing that's going to keep them up this season, you'd imagine. And then they're going to look to cash in on him, and they'll probably, they'll look to spend that money and spread it around as well. But you need someone to buy Ivan Toney. You need somebody to buy him. And if you don't have someone to buy him, so at the moment Arsenal would be the favourites, but they couldn't buy him last month because they had no room to buy him. So you always need someone. You can laud Brighton, but you always need someone to take the player off Brighton for £100 million. Who's going to take that player? Man City can't keep buying players. So the other teams have to be able to. There has to be, and this is where I just find the whole thing mad. And going back to what you said before, the whole reason for PSR was to stop clubs going bust. Well, as I understand it, there's only Portsmouth who ever went bust, and that's their own fault. And I'm sorry, but we have to just live in a world where if you're stupid enough to go bust, you go bust. Why are we trying to protect people? If you go bust, you go bust. And that might sound like a really selfish thing, but if Everton go bust because the stupidity, then you have to, as a fan base, you have to get ahead of that and rally around. I think we as a fan base did that last year. But all I can remember is Portsmouth went bust and have ended up exactly where they came from, and really exactly where sort of that their level is. And again, that's not me being I'm at we're Everton, but Portsmouth have always been a team really who are bounced around. But if you go off like the gates and stuff, and all right, they should be in the Championship really. But you can't like punish everybody else for the mistakes of a couple like Reading and Portsmouth and a few more.
But the irony being, though, that actually it's a points deduction that could ultimately relegate us and ultimately make us go bust, which makes the whole thing ridiculous.
Well, certainly, Dave, even if we stay up, we're still going to miss out probably on about £8 to £10 million this season. Because of the points deduction.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of what they would have got in. Yeah,
so that's that's a lot of money when it's coming in.
Right. Let's have a bit of lightness before.
That was the light bit.
Well, you say that, but Mike Cosgrove has asked us a question, and it's actually quite a good one.
Okay, that's interesting for Mike.
If you were, well, he normally just states the obvious, Mike, doesn't he? So, if you were forced, Mike, yeah. If you were forced to sing karaoke, what song would you sing? And also, whatever song you sing, you have to be in the body of that singer for a year. He's put not sexually. What are you singing? So you've got to be careful with your choice here.
You know what? I had one then, and then as soon as you mentioned the body part, I was like, no, I don't want that.
I'm going to go for Mysterious Girl, Peter Andre. If I've got to be in that body for a year, I'll have the abs. Whether he's bought them or not, or he's just done lots of sit-ups, I'll go with that. The song's not great, but it's easy to sing.
You can work with it.
You can work with it, and that body, have the abs back, the six-pack again. Walk around.
Again?
Because I have got evidence, my photograph evidence for years I had a six-pack, right? But walking around with the shirt open for a bit and jeans on, I mean, it might be on cold days, but you don't mind showing, I mean, in Co-op, getting me Huel for me lunch, other drinks are available. Walking around with just an open shirt and, your Calvins.
Would you have to maintain that body, though?
He hasn't said that, Mike. So I'm going to assume that without being eaten like Ned, your body stays the same. Yeah. Obviously, if I had Ned's diet, I would look more like not Peter Andre. Put it this way, Peter Andre, I'd have to sit in a sauna with a bin bag on quite a lot if I had Ned's diet. Yeah. But I'm just going to assume a normal diet that I eat roughly will keep that in. So I'm going Peter Andre, mysterious girl. So I've given you, by talking, I've given you a little bit of time to...
I mean, you've explained your answer and everything, shown your workings, which is important.
Go. Exactly. Always got told to show working out, even if the answer was wrong. But carry on. Yeah.
I was about to tell you about one of my karaoke songs, which I have performed on more than one occasion.
Okay.
But then when you talked about being in the body of that person
you're not sure.
Then, that was slightly disconcerting.
What I want, before you both give me your answer, what would have been your answer then? Because Ped come up with the same thing. So,
I'm going to tell you.
Go on, Dave.
I'm going to tell you what I did. And so I used to do Earth Song by Michael Jackson.
Interesting.
Which was my party piece.
Okay.
And
did someone have a fan blowing in your face so you could just lean back?
In an ideal world, if we built upon the whole performance element of it, then a fan would have come into play. I think. But when you're doing this in Yatesies and stuff like that,
it's not great, I suppose.
You're not quite there yet, but certainly the groundwork for what would have been an incredible performance in a karaoke setting was laid out, and the more I did it, the more phenomenal I think it got.
Okay.
Interesting.
Brilliant. So if you're not doing that and staying in that body and
no, I am doing that.
You're sticking with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. Okay.
Do you know, I'm going to stick with my original answer because why not? Why not be inside this man?
Okay.
Because why not?
I don't know who it is,
So, because
tonight, Ped, who are
you're
going to be
inside?
I'm going to be inside Elton John.
Wow.
Hey, it's not the first time someone's probably said that, so go on.
And
hello, David Finesse. How are
you? It would be Tiny Dancer.
Okay. Shit, it's been moving forward by
hold me closer.
That book. Go on, yeah.
Been moved by what?
By Carragher. Well, sorry, you little dance. But anyway, go ahead.
They're not allowed to have that.
Okay.
They're not allowed to have that.
Else.
No, they're not allowed to do that. No,
so that's what you be. Is that Elton?
Tonight, Mathew, I'm going to be inside Elton John.
Fair play, mate. Fair play.
And that, because why not? Why not?
Why wouldn't you
would you cut through the smoke, so to speak?
Yes, absolutely. I'd have to sit up. Because really, and also,
is it a syrup though?
No,
sewn into his head. It's sewn.
It's a syrup.
I think he owns it now.
It's because it's not only that song; it's the back catalogue as well. Can you imagine just when you're just feeling a little bit like, a little bit tense? You might have just watched Everton play, and you just get on the piano because you obviously in the skills as well.
Oh,
so you can play the piano.
So what you're just gonna sit there singing sad
Everton
songs?
Have just been.
Sad songs say so much.
Exactly, do. They absolutely do.
Everton have just been beat, and you just walk in, you get all that anger, and you're like, Saturday.
Careful, copyright strike, because you sounded like
you sound like him.
Yeah.
So that my dream is very much to be inside Elton John.
Fair play to you. He could have, he played in, didn't he play in Witness or something not long ago? You could have gone there and had a couple of drinks, and it might have happened. He might have taught you.
But Tiny Dancer, definitely.
Fair play.
That's my version of it, not Elton's.
Not Elton's version.
No,
there you go. Yeah,
but why not?
Okay. That's one of them, would it? Yeah.
That's one of them. I've got his full repertoire.
I'm still standing.
It's uncanny.
Yeah.
You could have this lot.
I am still standing, even though I fell down a hill.
You're still very much.
I saw that, by the way. How was your knees? You properly cut yourself up, didn't you?
I did. I've done a couple of 10K since, Dave, so. My knees are sore. They're a bit tender today because I went for a 10K last night. But
they will be tender because you've hurt your knee.
No, I did hurt
your dog.
I've run past where I fell and I've looked up and thought, wow, was like it was like my Nam.
Okay, fair enough.
That was Nam, not Nan.
Nan. By your Nan.
Yeah,
So your Nan tripped you up. Your Nan tripped you over.
Rolling down the hill. You know, in your own head, you make it worse, and then you look
like
at it and go...
Hamburger Hill.
Very much so. Very much so.
Okay, and the final one I'll ask this week is, what do you think the inside of a black hole smells like?
It does have a smell, apparently.
Does it?
Yeah, apparently they do have smells, according to like scientists.
What are we thinking? Like smoky? Are we thinking?
No, do you know what?
Aroma?
Oddly, it has got. They reckon it's got a smell like it's probably like the
like
air,
chocolatey, like a galaxy bar,
like an air, like
it's in
Alpine air freshener. Probably, I'd imagine.
An Alpine
like
air
you get in your
freshener.
car, like a tree-shaped one. But I don't know if that's fact. I'm going to Google what there's a black.
Google it, Dave. What would you
think?
I think it's chocolatey smell, given it is in the galaxy. Maybe the Milky Way. Maybe a Milky Way smell. But Dave, what would you think? What would you think?
Well, I mean, believe this or not, I've never ever considered what a black hole would smell like.
No,
before
me neither. To be fair,
any of my adult life.
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to go for your original thought about the sort of the slightly smoky scent,
Smoky
almost
aroma.
a bit like bonfire night. You know, when you can sort of
in the air.
It's just in the air.
Light smell of smoke and cinder.
Cinder. Great
cinder.
word. Great use of the word cinder.
Isn't it? It's not used enough on any podcast. I don't think.
We don't
cinder.
get cinder here in our bonfire night, but I can imagine you do get cinder. That sounds very much like
a born end thing.
You know, born end.
Why not?
The born identity thing.
Yeah.
A cinder, a smell, or is it more like a? You know, like the smoke machines. You know that smell of like.
Well, yeah, we used to have one of those on the Chaps and Dave World Tour. We used to take it out.
So it's almost like a air conditioning type, misty type. You know,
put liquid into it.
Yeah. Space as a whole, it's bitter, smoky, and has a metallic smell.
Smoky, we were right, man.
There you go. But I don't know whether that applies to a black hole. But you know, if you fall into a black hole, do you literally, or if someone looks at the black hole?
Well, you tell us you fell into one last week running. So what was it like?
I thought you were talking about Elton John. But apparently, if you fell into a black hole and someone looked at it, all they'd see is like your last image as you went in. So if you, because light can't escape
it.
What
would you do then? So you're falling in, and you know everyone's gonna see the last. Your last.
Like,
are you going two fingers? Are you going ones? Are you fonzing? Are you saluting?
And that's all people would see because light can't escape it. So that anyone would ever see is you.
Your last. Okay, so what would be your last pose then?
Oh, I don't know.
So to speak. Would you do the mentality?
Yeah.
The Rashford.
I'd go Gangnam style.
Gangnam style?
I don't know what that is. I just would go
it's something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a good. The cross on the
like
to the side.
Thing,
full head balls.
Yeah. He did that. Remember, and he stuck his crotch in that lady's face.
I mean, I don't know when that was.
I don't know if that happened, but fair play.
No, he did. When he did the Gangnam style routine. He kind of straddled his female partner.
Okay.
Kind of, as I recall. And she basically got, at one point, pretty much an eyeful. Because he was straddling her, she was underneath, he was doing all that.
He went for a full teabag.
I tell you what, if that's all it takes to get you Piers Morgan's job, then we should all be so lucky.
We should all be teabagging people with their balls, according to Ed.
So
Dave, so you go Gangnam style?
Yeah, why not?
That'll be your last one.
That's what I said. Dave's just going, whatever. Get me out of here.
Did you say Gangnam style?
I said Gangnam
style. Ped said it. So
Dave,
you did the actions, Dave.
I did the actions.
So that would be your last imprint. You doing?
No, I mean, is that the way that I want to be remembered?
Yeah. Is there any other?
Obviously, I'm too young to remember Fonzie from Happy Days. Played by
of course, you are being 31 years of age, Dave.
I do quite like the idea. Of
Yeah, exactly. Or you could go keep with your hair song, just go back like that.
Absolutely.
And the smoke machine.
And people would go.
Machine and the smoke machine.
People about smoke machine go.
Once Michael Jackson's touched you, then
nothing's the same.
Nothing is the same.
No.
Do you ever get worried about space? Just what I mean by that is like I watch some videos on YouTube.
Nice, I wouldn't. This your
but it's like the educational videos.
Yeah,
different from the educational videos you watch.
Of course, yoga.
But like there's like in so many million years, like, you know, the sun will expand and blow up the earth and all that. And I'm sitting there going, oh no, what are we going to do?
I'd never ever, because it's just someone's opinion.
No, it's not someone's opinion.
No, it is. No, it very much is. It isn't. Yeah, but we always
hang on.
We always have this. We always have this conversation.
No,
it's like
fact.
It's
not
not
become 5G people. No, but that's
what
not.
are you on about?
That's not.
How do you know these scientists aren't 5G people?
Because
they're not. They're just fellas going. I think that works like that. No, mate. No, we're not going there.
The fact is,
you're turning into Letitia. Stop
loads
it.
of proof.
No, you're going Letitia on me. Don't.
I'm going. You're going Letitia.
Never go full Letitia on me. No, stop.
But that's not the point. These things are theoretical facts. But the point,
they're not facts, because theoretically they're not
facts. They are facts. But the point being is, you ever like get worried about things that are like obviously never going to happen in your lifetime?
No, never.
Do you know what? Do you know what I think about when it comes to space? And my big thing is whenever I am contemplating space, which isn't very often, but it's the limitlessness, it's the lack of boundaries. That's the thing that really blows my mind, because I think that as humans, we can't really get our head around that, because everything else has a containment to an extent, whether that is the containment of the four walls that you're in, or indeed the county you're in, or the country you're in, or indeed the world. And anything beyond that, right, beyond being bigger than the planet, where it just doesn't stop. And it just goes on and on and on and on like a series of mirrors. That's what I struggle with.
Yeah.
What if there are the sides of the universe are mirrored?
Very much like the Truman Show.
So that actually we think it's, but actually it's just contained, just mirrored.
Big box, big warehouse.
Just a big warehouse. You know,
that would be mad. I do have that. That's the only thing. Sometimes if you wake up at about 3 o'clock in the morning and you like laying
wake
there.
Up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mate, I listen to a lot of stuff which tells me to go to bed early, or I will die early, and I don't want to die early. But sometimes you wake up and then you think of like, oh, the thought of never ending is just scary like as well. I think story. You go, but yeah. But I thought we were finishing happy, but you've ruined it. So my celebration, what am I going for?
Is it a celebration?
Well, it's just the last imprint. But you don't want to look worried, do you? You don't want to look worried. So the last imprint you've got, I'm just going full dunk.
Fair enough.
Full dunk celebration.
I think that would suit you.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Before I am pulled apart. Very much like
emotionally
defense.
Or physically.
Or everything, apparently. So there you go, but who knows? Who knows? It is the black hole.
Probably not real. They're probably not real.
Probably just a mirror.
Probably not real.
Probably just a mirror.
Probably made up by scientist people.
Quite possibly.
I think.
Who knows? Who knows?
For films?
Maybe.
Just to be like
who
bad
knows?
Guys.
Who knows? There you go. Let us know what you think about black holes. What do they smell like? What would be your last imprint if you could do something before you go? Could be the owl thumb on the nose, tongue pulled out. Could be anything. It's
quite deep, this, isn't it?
It is. Black holes apparently are very
back
deep.
To being inside Elton.
Yeah,
you go back to you keep being inside Elton as your thought.
Hey!
There you go. There you go. Let's leave it there. Dave, brilliant. Have a good week.
Thank you very much.
Have a good week. We will see you next week. Take it easy. Everybody else, this could be Happy Points Week. Just pray. Be positive. Let us know what you think. Give it a thumbs up. 5-star. Do all that good stuff, and we will see you later. Bye.